Welcome to
4Kids Flashback. Hello, welcome to 4Kids Flashback. My name is Tara Sands.
And I'm Steve Yurko, and we're just full of giggles today. Laughs.
I have an app. Are you hearing that?
No. I mean, we are recording this on Zoom. Zoom will
Oh, you're not hearing all the sound effects I'm putting in here?
No. Oh, God.
I have a sound effects app. I'll see if it translates to the... Let's see if you can hear this.
You are a huge nerd.
It sounds like someone's speaking through a Dixie cup.
Wow,
So
you
I
can't...
have no idea.
Oh. Okay, maybe my fun plan didn't work. Could you hear the burp?
No.
Well, I'll edit this out if we
That's
can't
Zoom.
hear it over Zoom. Hello, Steve Yurko. My
Hello,
fun
Tara
plan didn't
Sands.
work.
Oh,
Welcome to the show, you guys. It's an exciting one with Erica Schroeder. And Steve has a big... I think you like One Piece. I think you know a lot about One Piece. I'm getting the idea
That's
that
fair. That's fair.
You might be an expert about One Piece, so I'm sure you'll have 80,000 questions.
I try to limit it down to a couple thousand, so...
Okay, we'll see what we can get to today, because she worked on so many shows that I do definitely want to focus on One Piece since she had so much to do on that show, but she worked on everything, which is cool. She was there a lot longer than I was, too, so...
Till the end, I would say. I mean, I can't... We didn't get a confirmation on that.
To the bitter end.
To the bitter end, yeah. Just with a few voice actors playing, on the sinking Titanic. It's been an honor acting with you.
She's violining it.
Yeah.
I finally bought a book. I haven't started reading it, but I finally bought a book you recommended and a couple people recommended called Monster Kids. Is that you have read it, correct?
Yeah. I listened to the audiobook by my friend Daniel Dockery.
Did he read the audiobook himself?
No, he did the intro and the outro, I believe, but it's former guest of the show Veronica Taylor doing the audiobook.
Oh, I think I did know that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's very cool. Yeah, if you had told me a couple of years ago or 20 years ago that I would be reading a book about this time for fun, I would have asked you to share whatever drugs you are on.
I think for you, I think it's great because it's really a good primer on just the industry at the time. It'll go through everything that kind of was popular or everything that was trying to capitalize off of the Pokemon craze. For me, it was yeah, I know all this. But there are some interesting tidbits there. I think it's I think it's good for the people that that weren't obsessed with this in the late 90s, early 2000s. It's
Maybe we need a 4Kids Flashback book club. I'm not opposed to that.
Just force you to read the manga and see what they changed.
No,
it
it's not about
this.
No, because there's plenty of those already. This would be shows about books about the industry.
We should read the Scholastic Pokédex book that
should be the
I'm
next
sure
assignment.
our listener. If anyone was a Pokemon fan in 1999, everyone had that. I'm certain. We'll do that book.
Do you have your original?
I have no idea if I got rid of it or not. I'm sentimental to a fault. I bet I was can't get rid of this. This is a classic. So who knows where it is.
Ooh,
but...
I might start this book club. By the time you hear this episode, the book club might already be up and running or defunct. But it might be a one-time book club. But I don't like to read and then not talk about it with people. I feel the same way about a movie.
Yeah.
If it's not a shared experience, I feel like something's missing. But at least I do have you to talk to about it.
Yeah. It's like going on a vacation by yourself. I know some people are like, you shouldn't treat yourself. And I'm like, yeah, but...
Yeah, I've done it. I've done it. I'm good at it, but I don't enjoy it as much. And that's not to say that people shouldn't do it. And I'm actually really super envious of people who can. Also, Steve, me on a vacation alone as a 5-foot-tall female is so different than you as a 17-foot-tall male.
Yeah, that's true.
It's scary as a little
Everyone
person.
just leaves me alone. So.
Well, it's not that they don't. It's not that I'm
safe.
Like they're. Yeah, it's just a safety concern.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. I can't fight anyone. I'm useless.
I mean, neither can I. I'm a wuss.
But you look intimidating.
You just gotta do that. They don't have to know that I know way too much about anime that was dubbed for little kids.
They don't need to know.
They don't need to know that.
So funny. And for this interview, you're not wearing any One Piece paraphernalia. We should talk about you.
Wow, God. Here we go again. Well,
we had an incident, but no.
We brought that up on the Dan Green episode, I think, right?
We talked about it, but yes, no. We're both wearing neutral tones, I believe, and I guess we should get to Erica. But before you listen to that, what is something they could do if they like this podcast?
If you like it that much, you could go to our website. That's 4kidsflashback.com. Just type in the number 4. Don't try to spell it out. It's just the number 4. That's all I got to do.
4kidsflashback.com.
Yeah, 4kidsflashback. Yeah.
Not .edu or not .net, not .biz. What are the other
Apparently no
ones?
one else wanted to do this, so we were lucky.
.tv?
Yeah.
I guess we could have done .tv. That wouldn't have been
I feel like that would be too much like I think
on the nose.
Yeah, on the nose, or people are like, okay, now it seems like you're like you're like it's a what's it like? Almost seems like we're pretending to be 4 kids.
That's true, and we're not. What else can they do if they want to be supportive and hear more interviews like this one?
Well,
like they want to be like this. We don't want the show to end, and we do need funding for to continue doing this show. For
sure. There's a thing called Patreon. If you go to patreon.com/4kidsflashback, same deal. And if you kick us back just like $5, you could get episodes a month.
Yeah. Yes. Not forever.
Yeah, you got to research into how Patreon works yourselves. We're not going to guide you through that. No, I'm kidding. You could get episodes a week free, ad early, and plus other bonus goodies we're posting.
Wait, you just said a week free ad early.
Damn it.
That's a sign of doing so many podcasts that it's just like, that was awesome.
You're keeping this, yeah.
I love it.
Week early.
What he meant was
ad-free.
Bonus content, perks, watch parties, things, blah, blah, blah. Extra blah, blah, blah. And, you can follow the links on our 4Kids Flashback page to shop for merch with Steve's logo. There's a yugioh shirt, Raised by 4Kids t-shirt. Just different stuff if you want to, I like that stuff if you're a person who doesn't like to cosplay, but you still want to be like, but I tried. Those kinds of things those are good kinds of shirts to wear, or like a hat to wear. See, look, I tried. That's my idea of cosplay. All right, without further ado, that was terrible. Without further ado, because you've waited long enough and listened to us just say nonsense, here is Erica Schroeder. Our guest today is the lovely and talented Erica Schroeder. I don't know why I said it like that. You know her from so many roles at 4Kids and other roles. She was doing a lot of other anime at the time that we will talk about, but at 4Kids, she played Rena in Ultraman, someone named Luffy in One Piece, a bunch of roles in Shaman King. She was even in like Tokyo Mew Mew and Fighting Foodons, shows we don't talk about that much, or Magical Do-Re-Mi, and we'll talk about that stuff today as much as we can possibly remember. Also, My Valentine from Yu-Gi-Oh! And she has done about, I think, 8,000 million. I don't know if that's the right number. Roles in Pokémon to date. Welcome to the show, Erica Schroeder.
Thanks for having me, you guys. I've caught some of the show here and there, and I have to say, I'm loving it.
Oh, God, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're having fun.
Can't wait to put that quote on the poster for the podcast.
Yeah, we should.
She's loving it.
That's right.
Don't steal it from
Yeah, you're going to get
King,
copyright
McDonald's.
issue for that. Now we just got a fine. Great. So my question actually then is, like, so many of the people that we interviewed, I didn't know the office staff, like hardly at all. And I'm meeting all these amazing people that worked there. Did you know writers and people there when you were working at 4Kids?
I did. Some of them I did. You know, I knew the producers really well. I knew some of the writers. There was one animator Jose that I think a lot of people knew because he was just like very ambitious and kind of coming in and out of the room and talking to people. There was Cerise. She was the cleaning woman. I loved her. Our front desk people, I knew them pretty well. But as far as a lot of the creative people were kind of just hiding away and working. I mean, I knew the Kristens. There were like three of them.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew all three of the Kristens. But yeah, it seemed like a lot of the adapters and the writers were just like working so fast and furious that they didn't really come out of their rooms/cubicles very long, except for, the occasional Twizzler break or the occasional pretzel.
Right, free
the
pretzels.
two worst things.
Yes.
That always cracked me up because what a choice. Okay, what are the two things that get stuck in your teeth more than anything else?
Twizzlers and pretzels.
And Twizzlers. But yet those were the snacks that were left out for us.
That's so true. But you also have to remember, the actors were like the last thought. Like that was for the staff. And they were like, I don't think we occurred to them that often. I think they were like, oh crap, all those actors are going to eat our food.
I mean, I did love that they had that for us, but it always made me laugh because I was like, I can't really act right now because like, everything's stuck in my teeth.
Also, it's so East Coast that we had Twizzlers and not Red Vines.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, but no, they did think of us because we had Bagel Friday.
But that was
right?
for everybody. I mean, and that was only for the actors if you happened to be there. It wasn't like, oh, here's bagels for the actors.
That is true. That's true. But yes, I do remember the actors being like, I want to get booked on Friday because everyone was so busted broke. We were like, let's get some
free bagels. Well, there was
and
also Pizza Wednesdays when the Turtles recorded.
I thought it was Thursdays.
Pizza Wednesdays.
Pizza Wednesdays. Thank you.
Wait, more importantly,
I had it all wrong in my head.
What should have been for the actors? Like throat coat Thursdays or something? I don't know.
Yes, throat coat Thursdays.
Yes,
you're right.
Throat coat Thursdays.
Honey.
So perfect, Steve.
Certain studios we go to have things in them for actors. Like they do have throat coat tea. They have like that name I can't pronounce, that throat stuff. They have like one suit has lollipops in there that like I sometimes use between takes just to get like the juices. Like
that's so nice.
It's thoughtful. That was
Yeah, they had a ton of tea, and I did use it all the time.
Oh, they did?
It was, I don't know if you remember this. Yeah, so when you went into the kitchen, you cut an immediate left, you open that cupboard that was right at eye level. There was like a stupid amount of tea in there, and I used the chamomile tea and the peppermint tea.
Okay.
Like clockwork. Every session I had, I made tea. I made myself at home there. I was like, at first I was afraid. I was like, is this for me?
Allowed?
And I remember asking somebody like, can I have some of this? And then be like, yes, it's for you too. And I was like, is it?
Even the actors get tea.
Even the actors get tea. Yeah, once it was established that I was allowed to like raid the cabinets, I did. You have to be welcomed in to the fold first.
Right. Okay. Wait. I have two. Okay. I'm gonna get us back on track.
Yes, totally like vampires.
Yes.
I did voice Camula.
Was she a vampire?
The vampire. Yeah,
Yu-Gi-Oh!
she was a vampire.
Oh.
Yes, very good.
Oh, he knows his stuff. You just wait.
Mexico is obsessed with Camula. Never knew that. She has her own fan club there.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting how different countries or nationalities take to different characters? And I mean, I'm sure
interesting.
I'm sure if we went through the derivations of all this stuff, it would make sense. But
so interesting.
Okay, wait.
Yeah.
First of all,
Spanish-speaking countries love One Piece. Yes.
Oh, yes. That I have heard. Okay, Steve, Red Vines or Twizzlers? That's my first question.
I'm not a fan of either. I mean, especially now,
fired.
I've gotten really out of the gummy can. I did not like Twizzlers as a kid, and
I like black licorice. I mean,
I don't
red
Tara.
I can see Tara's face.
Tara is.
Oh my God.
You don't like black
If I
licorice?
accidentally eat a black jelly bean, I almost throw up.
Oh my God. To me, it's like one of the best tasting things in the world. You probably don't like eggnog either. Do you like eggnog?
I haven't drank it. I've smelled it, and I'm not interested.
It's so good, but
Yeah, it
yeah,
is
people
good.
who like black licorice usually also like eggnog. Is something I've noticed. I don't know.
This is a different podcast today. We're just going to go down food likes and dislikes.
Let's talk about food.
Yeah, okay. Listen, I'm getting us back on track. Erica.
Okay.
This is stuff that you've answered before. We're going to get this out of the way. We just need to know, like, how you, like, and again, I apologize for asking these questions, but I want to set the stage for, like, because you and I have spoken about how doing voiceovers and cartoons as a kid was on your radar, whereas it wasn't for me. So I wanted to talk about your backstory a little bit and your road to 4Kids and your serious theatrical training and your Broadway experience. And do it all with a British accent. I'm just kidding.
Let's do it.
And go.
Well, when I was just a wee one, I was did my first Shakespearean production at the age of 2.5.
Gosh, what a prodigy. Okay, so you grew up on the East Coast, right? Remind me.
Upstate New York, Albany.
And you were always into this stuff, right? This was no shock to anybody.
No shock. My mom said I came out of the womb dancing. That's what she always said. Dancing
Those
and singing.
Those tap shoes must have hurt her uterus. Ow.
She said, like, she remembers me dancing before I could stand. I would hold my hands on the side of the crib and dance. And that was like dancing, singing, acting. They kind of all came before the time I was 12, but they all came a little bit at a time, dancing, then singing, then acting. But yeah, I'm a lifer like you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what we do. Yeah. And then I know you studied you got more serious about it. Where did you study acting?
I studied at NYU. I got a talent scholarship. If I hadn't had a talent scholarship, I wouldn't have been able to go there. I mean, I still had a mountain of debt.
I get it.
I still had a mountain. But I paid it off. I paid it off with acting money, solely with acting money. So I was really proud of that.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I took we'll talk about that. I took 1 or 2 jobs outside of my profession at some point, but it was really just to pay extra bills. But no, I had the weirdest performance jobs. My thing was, I'm not going to work outside my profession. So I was a live statue and I was a hip hop dancer. I did every performance job in the city.
Wait, where were you a live statue? I need to know everything.
So there was this woman on the Upper West Side. I don't even know how I met her. I don't know who introduced me to her, but she had her own company where she was live statues at like events. And when she was double booked, I was her body double. So I was her second statue. So I did the toy fair. I did children's birthday parties. I did corporate events where I ran into my roommate and I was dressed as a Christmas tree and he didn't know it was me. And I talked to him all night long, like fucked with his head so bad. It was so much fun. Yeah. He never figured it out. He thought he was talking to a psychic tree. It was amazing.
So when you were a live statue, so this is why I'm asking, because I was obsessed with those people who would stand very still in Times Square, like painted gold, and not move.
Yes.
And I was like, do they practice standing still? So you didn't have to stand still.
I did.
You did?
Yeah. So you were taught to stand completely still, like you had to breathe very slowly. It was good training for audiobooks.
Who taught you that? Someone specializes in this?
The woman whose company it was taught me, and then basically I had lines of dialogue that I could break out of, and she told me, these are your lines of dialogue. So as the tree, like one of them was, you don't mind if I branch out, do you? So stupid, right? I mean, like...
Oh, puns.
So much fun.
You were allowed to speak in puns.
I could speak only in puns. Another one I had was, this was one of my favorites.
Have you met my cousin Douglas? Douglas Fir.
Oh God. Oh, she could have written for 4Kids.
They were good. They were good. Yeah, I like a good pun.
Okay, I love that. I get that. Like, because I had some jobs that were not in the industry, and like some that were, but like I get wanting to just be in that world because at least it was the performance world.
Yeah, I didn't want to wait tables. I didn't want to bartend, and I didn't want to do office work. So I was like, I did theater, and I made a good living. Constantly doing theater. I got my equity card pretty early at 22. But I still had in between gigs. I didn't believe in unemployment. I don't know. I was just not that smart, I guess. I didn't ever want to go on an unemployment. So I would go from like theater jobs to dancing jobs and statue work and things like that. And then back into theater and voiceover and just always performing. That's really all I ever wanted to do.
Yeah, and when Erica said she got her equity card, that's a theater union. So once you join, it's similar to the actors unions, but it's called Equity for Theater. I got mine early too, and I almost felt like it didn't help me because then I could only take those jobs, and I was like, I'm not ready yet.
It's tough. I mean, it depends, I think, on if you have an agent or not. You know what I mean? If you don't have an agent and you're equity. Ooh, that is tough.
I was online at 6 a.m. I used to get online early and get a time slot for an audition. Oh, my God.
I didn't have to do that. I feel I have so much respect for you because that is such a rough thing. I did one. This is a funny story, actually. I went to one open call for Phantom, okay? Uh-huh. This is unlike me because we've already talked about this many times. You and I are very type A. I'm very organized. I went on the wrong day. I went on the mail day. And I went kind of early. And they said to us, oh, you know what? You came on the wrong day. They were so nice. They said, but if you can wait to the very last audition, to the very last spot of the day, you can go. So I did. And I got a call back from that. I ended up having 5 callbacks. And I ended up having my final callback in the lower lobby of the Majestic Theater with Kristen Blodgett, the musical supervisor at the time. And I was a hair away from being Christine on Broadway, not on the tour.
So you're a lyric soprano.
Yeah, I was a coloratura. Yeah, I still have that movement.
Wow.
But maybe I don't have the high D anymore. I still have a C probably. But
do you know that I was in a hotel the other night and I
think I saw this.
Awoken. I posted this on Facebook. All of a sudden, I started hearing like, whatever that note is. And I was like, and then they kept going. And I was like, they're singing Phantom of the Opera. And I can't even be angry. Like,
that note was so high, the Zoom didn't even pick it up.
Oh, it didn't?
Oh, I thought you were mouthing, which reminded me of
I hit it.
Another story.
I hit not the D, but the ones before it, the 2, and then it goes to the high one. I don't know if it'll pick up on my mic.
But, girl, that's amazing.
But it woke me up at like 1 a.m. I was like, that's hilarious that this is like convention people. This is what they're doing in the middle of the night. They're singing Phantom of the Opera.
That's so random.
Were you one of those people that went to all the callbacks for Rent, the musical Rent?
Oh my God. Do I have stories about that? Do you want to hear them? Okay.
Yes, because I probably have similar.
I have so many stories because, well, have you told people like how that worked then? It was the first ever rock and roll musical, like the first ever pop rock musical.
Yes. Oh, yes.
It was the first one, like
musical Rent.
Yeah, that was like hardcore high belting rock. So it was basically like retraining all the singers in the city who we all trained to sing Rodgers and Hammerstein. And then all of a sudden we're like, fuck, now we have to sing this? This is tough, you know? So
you would have been such a good Maureen. Okay.
That's what I was called in for. Yeah. And I had 6 callbacks.
Did you do the dance callback where you had to hump the floor and the wall?
Yeah. I forgot that. You just brought it all back for me.
Oh my God. So that was only like a first or second callback. And it was a dance callback. And they said, okay, so they teach you like this little combination of steps. And then they're like, okay, then you start humping the air. And that's not enough. So you go to the floor and then you go to the wall. There was a guy scaling the wall.
I actually did that and Shout, too. Shout, the mod musical. Green Girl, she humps the stairs.
They made you do that, too?
Yes.
This is a thing?
Humping stairs is a specialty of mine. You felt comfortable or uncomfortable? I missed that.
I felt uncomfortable.
Oh, okay.
Because I was like, I don't remember when they do this in the show. I was like, there is no scene when this happens. Why are you? I was like, this is a hidden camera.
That's the
thing. Like,
Maureen is take me for what I am, who I was meant to. Right? Or no? Is that the other one? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then.
Yeah, that's Maureen.
Yeah. I had the 6th callback, and this is my 6th callback story. For those of you out there who know what happens when you're called back a 6th time for a Broadway show, they have to pay you. So we're all retraining our voices, right? to sing this kind of music. And then at that point, I was like, wow, I got this down. I can sing this. Fantastic. 3 shows a week. You know, I was like, there's no way I can sing this 8 shows a week. I just can't. I'll ruin my voice. No. I'll ruin my life. I'll ruin my reputation. I'll embarrass myself. And it was great that I had 6 callbacks because it took me that long to go, yeah, no, can't do it. So I called my agents. They were not happy, but they did understand. They did respect my decision. I said, I'm not coming to the 6th audition. I mean, I'm not going to be a no-show, but tell them thanks, but no thanks. I just know that it's not for me, and I turned it down.
I get it. But that show would have shredded your vocal
Yeah,
cords.
it shredded everybody's. It was the beginning of the vocal shredding on Broadway.
I had a friend who he was one of those guys who went from like Broadway show to show to show, and he wanted to make T-shirts that said, "I've had blank callbacks for rent," so you could like put the number in because everyone in the city had like their number
brilliant.
of call. That show specifically, because I think again they wanted to see who could sustain it. Like
that's exactly what it was.
They would have a million callbacks and a million people.
They were smart. I mean, they were very smart. They were retraining everybody. You know, they were responsible for retraining everybody to be able to sing that way because that's not how those of us who went through a musical theater program, that is not how we were taught to sing. So we had to retrain. We had to retrain. And they were Bernie Telsey was responsible for that, which is kind of cool.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And we talked about this on the show, like this is such a New York specific story.
It really is.
Because most of the cast that we've spoken to, I mean, with very few exceptions, have theater training and musical theater more than not.
Yeah, it's definitely something that directors like. They love it. They love that we have tempo down, we have range down, we have texture down, we have, nuance, we have dynamics. There's just a lot of things that people who aren't singers really have to learn and have to take a lot more time to understand than singers do, that we inherently understand. Like when you're directed by Eric Stewart, he's going to direct you like a musician and like an actor at the same time. And so like when you work with somebody like him and somebody like Darren, you're like, I get you. You get me. This is amazing,
Well, also, like, I think we see the mouth flaps as like a music thing, like it's a drum beat, like
100%.
There's something in it that we can remember the mouth flap. Yeah, I mean Lisa's a great Lisa sees mouth flap better. Lisa Ortiz,
better than anyone in the world.
Better than anyone. I've never experienced, like she notices the little nuance, like the mouth could barely be open, and she's like, "You missed that little." I was like, "Oh man."
Yeah, she's incredible. Yeah.
She catches everything.
It's so true.
You can't get anything past her. All right, sorry. Okay, so you and I spoke about that you doing cartoons was something you thought about doing as a kid or as so tell me like what you were into and like how that fit into your like going after what you wanted.
Sure. I think there was like 2 or 3 different reasons why cartoons were on the brain all the time. One of them was I was obsessed with the Smurfs. Like, I mean, I had an internal alarm clock. My parents used to joke. I didn't set an alarm on Saturdays, but I woke up at 8:59 a.m. I was a kid who slept in a little bit, That's a sleeping in kid.
That's a lot,
I would wake up and, like, sit up in my bed, like I was possessed. And I'd run.
Smurfs!
Yeah, Smurfs! Like, that's what I would literally go, Smurfs! Yeah. And then run down the stairs and turn on the TV just in time for it to start, to hear the theme. And I also watched Alvin and the Chipmunks. Love that. Loved Garfield. Don't actually remember when the hell that was on, but I loved it. So many amazing shows. I watched a ton.
Snorks. Snorks was the one I remember. Do you remember that one?
Yes, I do. Yeah. And remember Punky and Friends when that was on for a blip?
Yes.
Glomer, Punky
with Glomer.
Glomer.
See, you're one of the few females who can do that Glomer voice. So Glomer was Howie Mandel, right?
Was it?
Is that?
Gosh.
Well,
you're
I don't
even
know,
better
but
than
it's
me.
the same voice as the Gizmo voice. It's the Gizmo voice that Howie Mandel does on the Gremlins.
Holy crap,
I don't remember
no
Punky and
wonder.
Friends. But I could be, please, audience, I'm sorry if I'm getting this kind of wrong. But it's that weird placement that's
right.
almost Donald Duck placement that you're doing right now. And I cannot do that.
It's
I'm
also
so
a little bit of Elmo.
freaking jealous of you.
Yeah.
It's a swallow. It's like in your throat. It's also, Howie was, if it's Howie, he was doing it before the gentleman who did Hello, Lord of the Rings. Steve, this is your shot here.
No, I was distracted by the Glomer thing.
Was it Frank?
It was Frank Welker.
Okay.
Which.
Oh, and then Howie Mandel did a similar.
Yes.
Which is not
so Frank was doing
at all.
it before even it really, that type of voice became very famous with, you know what I'm talking about.
I was thinking of Bobby's World. You're thinking of
that's
Smeagol.
Howie Mandel.
Okay, so so it's Frank Welker, Smeagol, and Frank Welker
and Kevin Clash,
and Harry Mandel. I don't know.
And Kevin Clash, who did Elmo originally, which is I mean, that's Elmo is like if you would put together Smeagol with Mickey Mouse. If you put those two voices together, you get Elmo. So it's not as throaty. It's open and hollow in the back.
But see, I don't think as many females are able to find that place in their voice. I don't know if it's a structural thing or not. So that's why I'm super impressed that you can do it.
I love the specificity of your language and your thoughts.
Too?
Yes, I do notice it because this is what's weird. I was obsessed with Sesame Street. Like, obsessed. I still am. I think it's amazing. I love all the puppets. And I was obsessed with the male puppets. And I impersonated all of the males on the show except for Carol Spinney's characters. I could not wrap my brain or my throat muscles around, my vocal cords around him. Everyone else I could do, even the Twiddlebugs.
Which ones were his? Remind us which ones were his.
He was Big Bird and Grouch, Oscar the Grouch. Never could do those, ever. But like Ernie and Bert I could do, and the Twiddlebugs and Grover. It is I, Grover, messenger of love with a special delivery. All of the...
So good. Yeah, you were finding the places I mean, that's so cool that you were figuring that out at a young age.
I was in love with voices and making voices and faces. If you've ever seen me do any of my faces, I have like, my brother and I just used to spend a lot of time brushing our teeth, and we would make the most ridiculous faces, and I would name all the faces, and then I would make voices to go along with the faces. And that's how kind of all of that exploration would happen in front of the mirror when we would brush our teeth. It was fun.
So, that's very friggin' cute, Erica. Okay, back on track. So while you're doing this serious theater, when would you remember like early voiceover jobs and leading into this 4Kids stuff?
So I just come from, 3 years at Cap 21. Which is the musical theater program. And then I did classical. I did the classical studio with none other than Wayne Grayson. And see, we weren't in the same year. He was a year ahead of me or 2 years ahead of me. And then also David Brimmer was my stage combat teacher.
Oh.
Can you imagine?
Oh, I didn't know you knew him before that.
So
okay, that's
Brimmer
very
was
cool.
my stage combat teacher, and then Grayson was my TA. Yeah. Yes.
Oh my God.
He taught.
How did you take him seriously? He was such a goofball. Like, it's so funny for me to not that I don't take him seriously. That's the wrong word because he's so friggin' talented. But it's hard for me to take my friend seriously, so it's hard to think about.
He was only my TA for stage combat, not for Shakespeare in general, but for stage combat. So like when Brimmer would do the, teach all the choreography, Grayson was the one performing it for us and showing the example of how it was done. How is the role done? How do you parry? They taught us how to, I think, I should know. There's like 6 parries, 8 parries. I don't know. That means the movement of the sword. But at one point I did know those, and not anymore, You don't use it, you lose it.
Well, when you have to use it, it'll come right back to you.
Yeah.
For our next stage combat scene. Maybe we'll do that at a convention, but in like a thing of Jell-O. Yeah.
I think the fans would really love that for all the wrong reasons.
Yes. But yes, definitely in character. Bulbasaur versus Luffy.
That would be amazing. That's actually a good idea. Because of the rubber Jell-O. Okay, anyway.
Okay, so Brimmer's teaching you. You're at class. So how does voiceover happen?
Sure. I graduated. I also did a semester at Stone Street Studio, which was the film and television studio.
I love that you were able to bounce around, because the reason I didn't go to NYU is because partly because they wanted you to pick one school to study at. And I was like...
I don't think they described it well, because basically the option was you had to do 2 years of focused study at one studio. After that, you could do whatever the heck you wanted. So I chose to do the third advanced year at CAP because that's when you were starting to do production and stuff like that. And you could even stay for 4 years, but I was like, nah. I mean, I was a Shakespeare fanatic. I was in the I did Shakespeare plays in high school, and I also did the Shakespeare recitation competition, and I competed with the state, and I competed nationally. I won the state of New York, so I got a trip when I was 17 to New York City to compete for the national championship. It was very exciting, I have to say.
That's
and
cool.
that was the year that that was the year that what was his name? Oh, it'll come back to me. But he was hard of hearing. He did not he could not hear. So he was deaf. But what an incredible performer he was. Oh my God. Oh.
So he was there, or
I saw him perform and he won. Obviously it was a strange way of competing. You're one person and you're not actually speaking, right? He was performing his heart out with gesticulating and acting it, right? And the rest of us were speaking it. But he was so incredible, this guy. I mean, I think I got like a crush on him because I was like, wow.
Damn.
I mean, talk about passionate and talk about someone who was like an incredible performer. He won that year. I wish I could remember his name because I wonder what he's doing now. He was so good. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll find it. If anyone knows who we're talking about, let us know. Okay, so you're doing all this, again, serious stuff.
Yeah. And how did I get in? Yes.
Yeah, like how does this lead to Ultraman?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank God you're prompting me.
No, it's okay.
So I was recommended by Peter, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting his last name. This is terrible. At CAP, they called and they said, like, give us your best people for this. And they were like...
Well, Chris Collet, actually, that's funny. I think because we just talked to Chris Collet and he said he called NYU. So it must have been Chris that called Peter.
Could have been. Yeah, and then they were like, and so he let me know that he gave them my name. I got called in for an audition for Ultraman. And here I am like, Tara, I'm prepared to be like, like,
because you're
like doing all these crazy voices, right?
Yeah.
I'm prepared to like stretch, right? No. What do they want? Me. Just be yourself.
Real person.
I don't want anything. Just be you. And I was like, I know how to be an ingenue. I do musical theater. An ingenue is the love interest. Okay. So they were like, she's the love interest. I was like, I know how to do that, So ironically, the very first job I got in voiceover was as the ingenue character, which was as myself. And we should talk about that show because I have so much to say about it.
Yes. Please. Okay, just go for it.
No, I mean, I remember seeing it and, okay, I have to admit this. I had to stalk my own performance years later because someone asked me to do a cameo and I couldn't remember if her name was Rena or Rena. Now, here's the explanation why. You've talked about this before.
Okay.
Sometimes we would get the wrong pronunciation of a name, and then everybody would have to go back in and just get the lines with the person's name in it. That's what happened to us. We were 6 episodes in, and they changed the name of her pronunciation. And in my memory, I can't remember which one it was. I just can't remember. So I had to stalk myself on the internet to figure out how to say my own name to do this cameo for this person. And I had a really fun time doing it. As I was watching it.
Well, and now that you're saying it, I played this character in the past few years on a show, and now I'm second guessing how we pronounced it.
Because you were her, right? Weren't we the same character?
Yeah, on this. Yeah,
was
but
it
on a
Rena
very
or
different
Rena?
version
Which
of
one
it.
was it?
I think we said Rena, but I think I feel like I had a discussion with someone that like it got. See, this is the problem.
Remember.
But now studios are better about. I mean, back in the day, we didn't keep like a reference file of all this stuff. Now they're better about doing that. We didn't do that at 4Kids
file for sure.
No, but I'm saying with pronunciations.
No, we did not. Not with that. No, we should have, but we did not know. But I mean, everybody said it the wrong way because we all assumed it was that, or else the producers told us it was that. But it turns out it wasn't. It wasn't a huge deal, but it was.
But Veronica had a daughter named Rena, so that would have been a really good way to remember
I know, right? I always thought about that.
Why didn't we use that as a reference? Like, it's either definitely the way her daughter's name is pronounced, or it's definitely not.
Yeah, one or the other. I always think about it every time I say her name, too, because I'm like, I think about it, and I'm like, which one was it? But yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, that's how it happened. Crazy.
So you're doing Ultraman. What do you, like, again, like, you're finally doing, like, your dream of doing this voiceover stuff. Did this live up to what you thought, or was this, like, a weird version of it?
No, it definitely lived up to it. I was very excited. I absolutely loved doing it. But, like, when I went back and listened to it all, I had such a different perspective. When I was doing it, I was like, are we towing the line too much? Like, are we not doing... is this serious or is this parody? Which one is it? Because I couldn't tell. I'm doing a serious job, but the lines are not always serious, right? So I was like, how successful are we being with this is what I'm thinking. But then I went back and I watched it and listened to it, and it's freaking hilarious. It is so funny, and I have to say, I think we did an incredible job. I think we towed that line beautifully, and we stepped over it quite a bit, and I found it really funny. I was like, Megan killed me. Her performance was...
Oh, Megan's... Yeah.
Oh, my God. I mean, everybody.
Because I think the more seriously you took it, the funnier it ended up being. But in the moment when you're only working off of yourself and there's no one else to play off of, you don't know.
Yeah. I mean, we had these, like, really funny lines that they put in there. And like I said, I was like, what is this, a drama or comedy? Like, as you're doing it, which one is it? Like, that's the only thing I was confused about, which is a big thing to be confused about. But I was like, if my character's taking her journey seriously, it doesn't matter what it is. So that's what I did.
That's all you can do.
I took my journey seriously. And watching it, like I said, I think it was perfect. It was really funny. And I thought they did a fantastic job with it.
We did a watch party where we watched back one of the early episodes, and I'm going to, this will come out probably after, but I'm forcing you to do one next month.
Amazing.
And it was better than I thought it was. Like,
right?
I was ready to, like, hate watch it.
You were ready to cringe.
To be honest.
Yeah, I was like...
I was really ready to cringe. And luckily, I wasn't in it. So, like, I could watch it differently than if it was me in it. And I was like, oh,
there are fans out there, too. Like, somebody made me a 3D model of a really tall, half Ultraman, half Eevee statue. And I have it on my desk. I mean, when I say really tall, it's only like 4 or 5 inches tall, but it's like stretched out. So it's like almost like an Eevee head on an Ultraman with Ultraman eyes. It's freakish.
Like if Ultraman and Eevee had a baby.
Yes, it's really funny, and I love it, and I keep it in front of
weird.
I kept it in front of my computer, and I look at it all the time, and I'm like, what a strange imagination that fan had, but one that I very much appreciate.
I love the mashup.
Yeah.
The crossover episodes that we could make.
Right?
Right?
Oh, my God.
Okay, so Ultraman. Now, okay, so this is my question, too. Like, did you know you were auditioning for the company that did Pokémon when this happened? Because Pokemon was already in production at that point.
To be honest, no, I don't think I did.
Okay.
No. And I wasn't watching television unless it was Friends or Seinfeld. So.
Right. It was Thursday night must-see TV.
Yeah, that was it.
Okay, so you're working on Ultraman, and you were going to Taj to record Ultraman because the 4Kids studios weren't finished yet, right?
No. I had my audition at 4Kids for that, and my callback at 4Kids. And then I do recall working at Taj as well. Coming back from my honeymoon, I had short hair, and I remember like going into Taj and then being like, whoa, what happened to you? You know, I got my hair cut. So I know I was there for some of that. And I do remember, believe it or not, my husband did 3 guest episodes on that show.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And I tried desperately to find them, and I cannot find them. I can't find the episodes he did.
Okay, well, we have 3, so I'll send you what I have.
Oh, amazing. Yeah. I don't know what he played 3 different characters in 3 different episodes. I think he filled in a lot of stuff, and I think he played a villain in one of them, but yeah.
Were you aware that not all the episodes aired?
Not until the fans, until like maybe a year or 2 ago, since I really started going to conventions, and they told me that, and I was like, what? Yeah, I didn't know.
Yeah, so we're gonna do what. When I make you do this watch party, we're going to do one of the lost We definitely have one lost episode, the final episode.
Oh my gosh.
And that's what we're going to do.
Well, that's exciting.
I'm very excited.
That's going to be fun.
Thanks to Mike Pecorello, who did some digging.
I did hear that he found all the lost episodes or something like that.
Just 3.
Oh, just 3.
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
Yeah. Well, 3 and not all that were, so we're still hoping to find more.
Gotcha.
But this is about you, Erica. Let's talk about you, not about Mike.
Back to me.
I was kidding. So what was the next thing that you did at 4Kids?
You would think that I would remember, but I don't.
No, you don't have to remember.
No. It was one of 3 things, and I don't know which one it was. It was either a bully character on Pokémon, whose name I will not recall ever.
That's fine.
He he was like a skateboarder, something like that. I remember the lines that he did because I had them on a demo for years, and I thought they were hilarious. Or it was Lyserg in Shaman King. Mm-hmm. Or it had to be that. It had to be one of those 2. It couldn't have been Nurse Joy and Mai, because I think Megan was still there.
Yeah, Megan didn't leave till at least 2004. So
then it was Lyserg, I think, was my...
Yeah, it must have been Shaman King.
Yeah.
Well, and what's so funny, Eric, is like you and I did not cross paths.
Never. Not you and me or Megan.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
It's the weirdest thing. I think about that all the time. Like, how did we exist? And I would see, because like you were considered hilariously funny. I remember that.
I don't remember that. Okay.
Reputation for being like very funny. And so I would go in the studio and like there would be things written on the rugs that were on our things about you, or you wrote to people on there.
Let's explain this. So on the music stands that so there were music stands that held our scripts. But music stands are made of metal, and you can't have metal behind a microphone or the sound will bounce off of it. So there were always things like fabrics on there that we would write crap on to each other. And
it was either a T-shirt sometimes, and sometimes it was a piece of carpet. Yeah. Leftover piece of carpet from the studio, so a real thin piece of carpet. Yeah, and there were things written on there, and I would go into certain studios, and you were all over it. You were all over it. And I was like, and I heard you talked about all the time and all these things, but I was like, I never saw you. I never met you. I was like, this is so weird. I felt like we were living parallel lives, but our paths never crossed.
Always knew your name. I always knew you were good. I would hear your voice on things. I'm like, who's that? I'm like, who's that? It's great. And I knew who you were, and we never, it makes no sense. They were keeping us apart, Erica.
They were. Do you remember, though, in Studio 4 or 5, because I guess I got them mixed up, somebody told me, that there were rules written on the wall? Like, no taking off your shoes, don't take off your shirt. There were all these funny rules. And apparently most of them were because of Sean.
I was just going to say because of Sean Schimmel, probably. Because he took his shoes
Sean
off.
Either Sean liked to take his shoes off?
Yeah.
I don't know who. I think that don't take your shirt off was just a joke that somebody wrote after.
Yeah, no, Sean fully used to take. Yeah, I remember. I'd be like, this smells weird. And they're like, oh, Sean was in there, took his shoes off. I was like, what the fuck? Yeah.
I love it. I don't mind. I mean, he wanted to feel closer to the earth. I know that, like, when you do Shakespeare and you do warm-up, you do warm-up without your shoes on.
He came talented. From the
classical
I let him off
world.
The hook.
He came from the classical world.
He's so funny. So once you started doing, like, again, you started with Ultraman, but then you started playing characters. Was, like, young Erica just dying that you're, like, doing cartoons?
I mean, it was a dream come true. And I had the 2 dreams. I had Broadway and the voice of a cartoon, and I had a couple other ones, like, that I didn't understand when I was younger. Like, I wanted an art piece at the Louvre. And I was like, yeah, I think you have to be French for that, or, like, really old. And then the other one was I wanted to be on SNL. But we'll get to that later. But yeah, so I did Broadway first. I was in a Broadway show and then ended up doing the cartoons after.
Okay.
Which was,
That's
I didn't
fine.
know.
There's no order. You don't need to do those in any order at all. That's,
yeah, I had no idea when my dreams would come true, but I knew that I would do everything in my power until that, those two things happened.
Yeah.
So I was happy. I mean, I was so happy. Yeah, doing what I loved. Yeah, and to me it was really high art, and I still think of it that way,
So you and I, this is where we differ.
Yeah.
We've talked about this.
We talked about this.
We treat it. I think it's, I don't know why. I think it's partially because I watched some of the shenanigans at 4Kids. I watched people get replaced. I watched people, I didn't feel treated like a serious actor there.
Gotcha.
So I didn't not that I didn't behave like one, because I think I still did my best work. Not my best work in the booth.
I'm sure you did. Yeah.
I did okay work. I mean, I watched some of it and I'm like, oh, I was learning how to dub. Like, that's what some of it looks like to me. And again, I like we've talked about in the show, like we were all first-time dub actors. We were working with first-time directors, often first-time producers, very often first-time writers. The fact that any show got made is a miracle.
I didn't know. I mean, I had no idea what anyone's experience level was, but I would say that, like, our engineers were phenomenal. And
yes.
I trusted them. I trusted. I think they're some of the best in the business. Like, I didn't have to really think about timing that much. The adaptation was so good, and I felt the adaptation was so spot on that I didn't have to focus on the flap. I was just acting, and it fell into place. That was my experience.
Wait, that is... It's so funny. We had totally... Because I remember we would get a script and I would know if a certain person wrote it, that it was... I would have to speed the lines up. And if a different person wrote it, I would have to slow them down or pad it with, like, extra words.
We should talk about which shows we were working on, because that might be the difference.
We were both on Shaman King.
Yeah, I remember it being smooth. I don't know. I remember it being really smooth.
You're just that good. That's what it was.
No, and I just remember laughing. Oh my God, Tony Salerno is one of the funniest people you will ever meet in your entire life.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, we liked everybody. That was what was so nice, too.
Oh, so much joy. I mean, I would have a stomach ache when I left that booth because he just had me laughing so hard. Like, and it was joyful, and it helped the work, Yes. I mean, if you're having a good time, you're gonna be giving a good performance. But I mean, there are so many rules of thought there, and I'm never gonna say one is right and one is wrong. I call it be a mirror. Be a mirror to the energy that you are receiving, and you will never stop working. Mm-hmm. If your director is serious as hell and doesn't want you talking between takes, don't talk between takes.
Right.
Take your cue from the leader. Yeah. If the director is cracking jokes and enjoying when you crack jokes, then crack jokes, make it a good time, enjoy that part of yourself. Because
it's read the room. I mean, that's really what that comes down to. And I think those are the people that keep working. Someone who, like, your talent is you have to be talented, but there's a lot of talented people. Yeah. If you can read a room, you'll keep working.
You have to be able to. I'm so glad that we're talking about this, because I think it's one of the most important unwritten rules out there. You have to read the room and understand the pace. So I've seen actors try and work faster than the director wants to work. They're uptight and they're just like, okay, and it's like, listen, the director is you're gonna get spanked. Not literally, thankfully, but they're gonna be like, chill. Or an actor that just wants to fuck around the whole time, and that there's a director that's very, very serious and wants to get work done. If you can't read that, they're not going to want to work with you again.
Yeah, and I think the working from home has allowed more people into the industry who maybe can't read a room, which is not to say it's bad, because maybe their talent is outshining it, because they don't have to be. Reading a room is very different when you're actually in a room as opposed to so
some people it's going to come quicker to them, and some people it's not, and what matters is that you learn, that you can learn how to adapt to the energy that you are being given, and adapt to the pace that you are being given, and same thing. Some directors do not like you to break character. And some of them don't care. They'll let you do whatever you want to do. And for each piece, I feel different too. I'm not using the same technique in one show as I'm using in another. I've got a bunch of bags of tools, and I can use what I need for what I need them for. Some tools are not going to come out in certain sessions,
We got to get to Luffy because and Steve needs to ask a million questions. So
okay, Steve,
let's get to the Luffy. And also, before we get into that, because I know this will play a part, when I was working there, I wasn't aware of all the censorship and edits that were going on I just knew the final show that I was dubbing. Did you know about all the censorship and edits?
No, I knew about the lollipop. I mean, I knew about a couple small things. I knew about the fact that it was alcohol and we weren't referring it to it as that. But it made sense to me. We were, it's Saturday morning, the most strict standards and practices, S&P, that there is in the industry. And a lot of the edits, certainly not all of them, but probably 80% of them came from the law. Yeah. It had nothing to do with 4Kids being like, I want to change this. Yes, some things, obviously, they did change for the purpose of making it more palatable initially to an American audience. But most of the changes they made were literally because the United States were like, you got to make these changes. And they were like,
they didn't want a lawsuit. That was it.
And also we didn't want to ruin our children. There's only so much. If you know there's a 5-year-old watching, you're not gonna say certain things.
Well, also, and the thing that I think people forget too, and I've been talking about this more, is this was the aftermath of 9/11, and we were in New York, and violence. We didn't feel bad about cutting some violence. You know what I mean? I think we were all a little sensitive.
Everybody was sensitive. Everybody was shaken. Yeah, that's a fantastic point.
It makes things make more sense to me now. Somebody put that in perspective for me, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's right.
It was a different time.
Yeah, okay. So, Steve, ask away. I mean, or we'll start with your audition for Luffy, but then, Steve, you take this. We can't hear you.
Oh, no, what happened?
You are, Steve, we don't hear you.
He'll be back. He's saying, I'll be back in one moment.
I pressed that mute button. I realized that.
Okay, so
sorry. I had a call.
You did. Thank you.
So I was trying to no, I wasn't answering it. I was just trying to
get rid of them.
Turn Bluetooth off. But let's start with that. I'm curious what the audition process was like for Luffy.
Oh, sure. I mean, as everyone has experienced in this situation, going back in time 20 years, some things we remember and some things we don't. Here are the things I remember, which is that they had initially cast a male in the role within our 4Kids family. And I know who it is, but I'm not going to say because I just, I'd want to get that person's permission first. And I think it was a 4Kids decision, and I don't think they checked with Toei first, but I could be wrong. And it was quickly apparent that it was not the right decision, not because the actor was not phenomenal, but because the personality and even the vocal shape, the vocal timbre was completely wrong for this role. I mean, it could not have been more wrong because it didn't sound anything like the Japanese, like nothing. Like I said, amazing, wonderful, incredible, but not anywhere coming near to the original, because obviously, that was a woman. But also, she had a lot of texture to her voice. So they brought me in. I don't know how many other people they brought in. And they were like, I do remember being seriously considered immediately and being told, like, we think it's you, we're pretty sure. We don't know. Let's try this out. So, here's the part I don't remember. I don't remember if I had like a week or 2 long audition, okay? Or if I was hired after like 1 or 2 callbacks and then had a week or 2 working on the show with people from Japan there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so we had
That's new. Yeah.
We had a board meeting in the Turtles room, around the table there. About Luffy, without microphones, without recording, without acting.
Wow.
Yeah, we had a meeting. I don't remember how long it was, where there was a translator and there were people there, and they were telling me about the character and everything that was important and all these things that I had to make sure to capture. And so it was a lot of like, I don't know if you've ever worked for Blizzard. I'm sure you have, right?
Not in a minute, but okay, but explain it.
Working with Blizzard is like that. I mean, like I would remember having a few jobs with them where we would talk for 2 hours before I started acting. There was a lot of history and so it was like, to me, it was like, oh my gosh, it's like being, what's the first day when you're at the table? Oh my God.
Table read.
The table read. Yeah. With a dramaturg.
Oh my God.
It felt like I was in theater.
You got this.
It felt like it was in theater and I had a dramaturg and I was like, this is awesome. Like, because I hadn't had that with the other projects.
No, but your experience is so different than what some of the writers had who were working on One Piece, where they felt like the Japanese team was keeping information from them. Oh. Sometimes they would ask for more so they could delve into so they would understand a character's backstory, because they were trying to write lines and they didn't want to ruin something coming up, or they wanted to foreshadow, and they often felt like they wouldn't give answers. So I'm so glad that maybe it's because you got it from the outset, but I'm so glad you got that.
Yeah, I wondered that. I mean, I wondered how long were they involved after that. But they were heavily involved in the first 3 episodes. That I remember. That was like, they were definitely heavily involved, and I felt really safe and I felt good that, here I was getting the approval of everyone I needed to get the approval of. So I didn't have any insecurities or any fears, which I'm not, no one's made of steel, but I don't tend to have insecurities when I feel good about what I'm doing,
Yeah.
Insecurities are only introduced when someone questions you. You know what I mean? But nobody was questioning me. I felt really good. I do remember coming up with the Luffy laugh. I remember I said, I think, I don't know if it was my idea or whose idea it was. I said, I think there should be a signature laugh. And everyone in the room and in Japan was all like, I think it's a great idea. So let's do it. Let's do a laugh workshop. I got to do a laugh workshop. And
this is the most intricate work I've heard of happening at this studio.
Yeah, I should ask. I'm sure, like you mentioned Blizzard before, like this is probably more common, in other voice work, but would you say this was the only time you ever went through this
definitely
kind of
went through it with Blaze the Cat. Whoa, that was intense. Yeah, we have to talk about that because that was even more intense. Probably 3 times as more intense as Luffy. Like, talk about feeling like there was insecurity at the beginning there for me, because I was being told, we'll get to that. Remind me to get to that, because I loved it, but it was very challenging. This wasn't as challenging, but I do remember doing a laugh workshop and absolutely loving it, and that we all chose the homage to Woody Woodpecker, which was like a half Woody Woodpecker laugh, and because it was the one that worked best with his expression and the animation. Just looked like what he was doing, and a
lot of big grins, big teeth.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, and I knew what an homage was, and I was like, I really want to tip my hat to something that I love, and I love Woody Woodpecker, and I just thought this would be really fun. And also, Woody Woodpecker's very joyful. It's like, and goofy like Luffy.
Yeah.
There's like, it can't be a coincidence that, it is a coincidence, obviously, because it wasn't written for the English language, but Goofy Luffy does work because that's a quality that he has. And that's what the live action actor that's currently cast works so well, because he has that inherently in his personality. Mm-hmm. And it's so important. If you can't make fun of yourself, if you can't be that kind of person, you can't play this role.
Like, his face makes me smile, like that actor.
Oh, my
I just
God.
see a picture of him and I
Me
smile.
too.
Like, there's something about him.
I just love him.
Yes, he's great. Okay, so laugh workshops going on.
So,
yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. But besides like those first 3 episodes, what else do you distinctly remember just recording on that show? Whether the highs or some of like the biggest challenges on there. It's a big show. There's so much to that.
Yeah, I mean, it was joyful. It was a joyful experience for me. I don't remember having any lows. I really wasn't a person to be on the internet a lot. I was working so much. I didn't have a lot of time to stalk myself and see what the hell was going on. And I do think like shortly thereafter, I did discover there was some controversy. And again, here's the thing. I'd already been on Broadway. I'd already done theater, regional theater for years. I'd been reviewed before. You know?
Right.
Thankfully, mostly favorably. You know what I mean? I think I had one bad review in my entire theater career, and that was ironically the worst experience of my life because it was when I went to my hometown and I was like, didn't you guys get the memo? Didn't you get the memo?
I'm from
here, motherfuckers. You're not supposed to say anything bad about me.
Don't you know who I am?
It wasn't that bad, to be honest. All they said was, well, I do remember it. Erica Schroeder.
I remember reviews too.
It's the only review I remember.
It.
Erica Schroeder destroys the fragility that she creates in the opening moments by throwing her arms up in diva-like fashion at the end. Now let me explain why the critic wasn't paying attention. Because the critic didn't see above me. There was a time skip of 15 years, and I was a starlet at the beginning and a diva at the end. So the review actually made sense. I was like, yeah, that was my intention.
What was the reviewer's name, and where did they live?
That I don't remember. That I don't remember.
We're all going to egg the house tonight.
But anyway, you know, it's if you give consideration to the good reviews, you have to give consideration to the bad reviews. But It's all about what I love about art, and I tell people this. The coolest thing about art is everyone has an opinion, and everyone's opinion is correct. Everyone's. Right. Because it's how we perceive art. So if you don't like it and it's not for you, I am not offended. But I could care less, you know. It doesn't bother me, you know, as much as it just doesn't bother me.
What I've learned specifically doing this podcast is more about the edits that were happening. Because, again, this was stuff we didn't know. So Steve taught me that
Go ahead. I'm curious what
sorry,
this really
that it wasn't just like the standards and practices stuff. There was like a storyline that was cut. And what I found out is there were like these kids reading the manga who were waiting to see like certain story arcs that were completely gone.
Of course they're going to be upset about that.
So this was like, again, this was above our pay grade.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't want to say it like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, unfortunately, like you as actors, you're the public faces of the dub. And I think you received far more backlash. I mean, you received backlash that was undeserved because...
Or that was meant for someone else.
Yeah. I would agree with that. But it didn't... Yeah.
I think one thing, it's like, you know, after, you know, finding this out today, you do have like a one-up here. It's like, hey, the Japanese side picked me and worked with me.
They picked me. Yeah. They liked me. They didn't disapprove of me. But also, like, I mean, I didn't take offense because I was like, you're not criticizing me. You're not criticizing my job, you know, and I will not apologize for what I have done. What I have done is what I have done, and what I have done is what I'm very proud of. But like I said, it's a personal experience for people, and if they, you know, dislike, you know, I've had fans say the funniest things to me. Gosh, it was like 7 years ago or something. Somebody came up to me and said, like, I can't remember the shows, to be honest, that they said, but he said, I really, you know, hated it when you did this. And then they just kind of said a bunch of stuff. And then they said, but I really loved when you did this. And I was like, there's an example right there. I mean, we don't have to love every actor and every role.
No.
We don't have to love every moment in every episode. But we are, as individuals, are allowed to experience art in the way that we experience it. And nobody can take that away from us. And therefore, I respect everyone's opinion. I don't necessarily respect people who are jerky about their opinions, but I'm not going to
be nice about it.
I'm not going to fight with them, and I'm just going to ignore them. You're going to get ignored, you know? If you act if you act, you know, disrespectful to anyone, including myself, you won't get anything from me. You're not going to get anything from me, you know? If you disrespect my friend, though, you'll get a slap. You will.
But and again, like Steve rewatched this stuff recently, and a lot of it was not good or bad. It was just, hey, I want to know why.
Yeah.
Because that's the way an adult looks at things. And I think we were dealing with younger people who were upset, but like Steve's question really was, hey, I just want to know why. Like, because I always say, like, for this podcast is covering the good, the bad, and the why of 4Kids. Like why they made certain decisions, and a lot of it's lost to time, but sometimes it's such a crazy explanation. I mean, we spoke to John Kalish, who was the producer of One Piece, and he got in an argument with the Japanese team because I think it was over whether to say good job or good work.
Oh.
And he kept saying it's the same thing. It's or whatever it was, or he had one, but they would argue over nonsense. And then it would just get so frustrating. So it's like, that's the stuff that we didn't even see that was going on behind the scenes. And it was really eye-opening to me because I was like, oh, God, those are the battles.
How is John?
He's good. He gave us some Funky Cop stuff.
I loved him. He was so good to me. He was good to me. Yeah. He was a sweetheart.
He's a good dude.
Yeah. Loved John.
So you're working your dream job, I guess it sounds like.
Yeah.
Are you also still doing theater at this point? And Steve, feel free to jump in with more One Piece, but I'm just trying to get like a day in your life.
Yeah, I was doing a lot.
Are you doing theater at night?
And let's not forget the
the
Blaze the Cat thing. We gotta.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely get back to that. Absolutely.
Sure.
Yes.
I was doing a lot of theater. I couldn't do regional theater, so I was doing a ton of readings and workshops in the city. Yeah. Oh, gosh. Dare I tell this story? Yes. Okay.
I dare you.
It's a 4Kids story. It's one of the bad ones, but I forgave them.
Have at it. Okay.
They did something bad to me, but I forgave them. Okay, so I worked at the Cincinnati Playhouse in the Park the year that they won the Tony Award, and I was in a world premiere of a play and that the Tony voters came to see, and we were one of the 3 productions that won this award. I'm doing some serious theater, like we talked about, right? And I had gotten, oh my gosh, Winx Club. I'd gotten Winx Club.
Yes.
Here's the crazy part. I was cast as the original Stormy, okay? And I told them I was going away for 8 weeks to do this regional theater piece, Hiding Behind Comets by Brian Dykstra, world premiere of this play, and they were like, sure thing, you don't have to be back till this time. This is when all your shows are starting up, or it was amazing. I was like, wow, I can get out of town.
They worked around your schedule.
This never happens. Never happens. A week before I'm supposed to come back, 1 week before I'm supposed to come back, they said, we have a Winx Club promo. Your character Stormy is in it. You have to come back and record it. And I said, no. I'm doing 8 shows a week, and you said I had a whole nother week, and now you're coming back at me and saying I need to be there. And I was very respectful, but I said, I'm so sorry, I cannot abandon my production for you. I'm going to finish my show here and finish doing the good job that I'm doing with my fellow actors, and I'll see you in a week, and you can pick a different clip, or you can cast me with a voice match, and I'll come back and replace. Blah, blah,
yeah.
So,
happens all the time.
So what did they do? Yeah. They just fired me. They just fired me. Didn't even really tell me. And I came back, and where's my part? Oh, it's not yours anymore. That hurt.
But see, I can't believe how many versions of that story I've heard doing this.
Well,
podcast.
But it happened to me twice. No, 3 times. No. There's 3 different stories. They're all really funny. But the first story made me cry. And then once I got the tears out of the way, the first time I was fired, I kind of was like, oh, I get it. It's not personal for them. So why should it be?
Nope.
Why should it be personal for me? And they'll hire me the next day as somebody else. So it's not about them thinking I'm a bad actor. It's about them not wanting to give producer notes, and whoever was working on it, whether it be the Japanese team or the American team, they would just rather hire somebody new than be like, can you do this a little bit with a little bit less texture? Or can you do this with a little more sensitivity?
They didn't think about directing you. They just said, just hire someone else. It happened constantly.
Yeah, and I'm like, we can be directed. That's what happened the first time I was fired. I was the original Max in Pokemon. And I was fired the first time, but just because they couldn't give me couldn't give me direction and let me try something
to get
different.
You there.
I was like, people,
yeah.
I'm an expert at this. This is what I do for a living. Just tell me what to do and I'll do it. The second time was Winx Club, Stormy. And guys, do you know the choice that I made for Stormy? Are you ready for this? This is the best part. The best part of the story is...
A lisp? Is it a lisp?
I was going to be the female Gilbert Gottfried.
Hi, guys, it's Stormy. This is how I did the part.
Oh, my God, I would have
She looked like that to me with her big hair.
That's funny.
And
that would have been a different show.
And they cast me, and I thought, like, it's different. You know, there's 6 girls. There's 3 evil, 5 happy. There's 8 people. We're all around the same age. We need some vocal differentiation here. We don't want to get everybody confused. And they loved the choice. But then whoever ended up doing it, which I don't remember, and I'm sure they did a fine job, but they weren't the female Gilbert Gottfried.
Right. But I just, it's so funny because, again, you speak of, I think part of my reason for being bitter and speaking about things like this is because stuff like that was happening. Yeah. And I knew it was happening, and I felt replaceable. I left and again, people get replaced. Like, listen, you and I have both replaced people, been replaced, and sometimes it's just as simple as someone moves and they need to fill the gap. Like, we'll get into that and how hard it is to go step into that because it's intimidating.
Well, and we've all learned to ask questions.
Yeah.
I always ask. If someone's being replaced, tell me why. I probably shouldn't tell this story because it might reflect poorly on someone that I don't know.
Well, do you want to tell it and then you'll tell us if you want us to cut it?
It had nothing to do with 4Kids. It was, I auditioned for, let's just say I won't say the part, okay? I auditioned for a role in Word World. It's so hard to say. Word World. Okay? To replace somebody. And I did a perfect voice match. It was really good. And then they called me back a second time, and I was like, great. Then a third time, and I was like, I don't think...
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's weird. What am I doing here again? This is strange, right? So at the third callback, I was like, what's going on here? Like, you haven't made up your mind about, like, how can I help you? And they were like, well, you're doing too much of this. Whatever this ism was that I was picking up on that the actor was doing. And I was like, I'm not doing too much. I'm doing exactly what she's doing. And they said, yeah, but we don't like that. And I said, well, you should have told me that. You asked me to impersonate her. You didn't say impersonate her, but do less of that. So thank you for telling me. Now I'll do less. And then I said, the craziest thing came out of my mouth. And I'm glad I said it. I said, well, I fucking love it. I think it's brilliant. And I love her performance. And why are you replacing her? And then there was like 3 seconds of silence. I don't know. Said, if you want her to do less of that, just ask her to do less of that. I said, I really don't even know why I'm here. Like, just...
Wow. You saved her job.
I did. She continued doing her job. But I really don't understand why, because she was brilliant. Brilliant. I was like enjoying myself so much impersonating this performance, thinking, I couldn't have come up with this. This is funny. This is interesting, unique, incredible.
But see, to me, that just says either an inexperienced producer or an inexperienced voice director who just didn't know how to ask for what they wanted. And maybe that person has learned since then. Oh, maybe you taught that person. Oh, I just have to ask. Like, I did a show and I found out that they were pitching my voice down. Like, I would leave the session and they would do a voice pitch thing. And I go, why didn't you just ask me? Yeah. And then I said, well, why don't I start doing it like that? And they're like, no, we have like the exact setting. And I was like, I get it. And listen, I wasn't angry.
Right.
I just was kind of like, I wish I had been asked because maybe I could have saved some weird modulation or maybe. And again, I get it. But I also want to do roles where then I can go do the voice if someone needs me to in front of them.
Exactly.
But again, it wasn't a big deal. And I think what happened was that they played around with it after the first session and they were like, oh, we like this. And they got it. But then
they never told you.
It was just lost in communication, which happens all the time on jobs.
Yeah, it is crazy. But that was an interesting experience where I always ask, why is this person being replaced? Because if I like the reason, I will audition. If I like the reason, I'll take the part. If I don't like the reason, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
If you're disrespecting somebody, I'm not doing it. Disrespect. Let someone, I always ask. I want to know why.
I do too. I found out today. I got an audition and I said, hey, just want to know why this is a voice match. And they said, oh, the other person turned it down. I said, great, I'm happy to audition.
There are so many reasons to say yes. And there are a couple reasons to say no.
Yeah, I just want to know they were offered the job. Or that there's
Yeah.
Okay, wait. Let's get into Blaze because, again, it's getting late in where you are, and I don't want to keep you forever.
I'm good.
Blaze, let's blaze it up.
I'm having too much fun to leave. Okay, so Blaze. Steve, you were asking about Blaze. You said was everything like that, or was there anything more complicated in your career, or anything more complicated at 4Kids, something like that? And I said, Blaze. Blaze was layered. They had a very specific idea of her personality, and they also had someone there, and then they had a translator, and then we had our regular producer, and then we also had the director, and then we also had the engineer. So there was 5 people in the room and myself, which is unusual there. It was usually just 3 of us, So we had 5 or 6. No, we had 6. 1, 2. Wait, me, producer, translator, other person, director, engineer. 6. Yeah, 6 of us. Wow. Yeah. So it was more like, when you do a commercial, and there's like 15 people in the room and you're like, what do you want? That's kind of how it felt.
And then they give you a line read and you do it and they go, no.
Yeah, because you can't please 15 people at the same time.
No.
But we know that. And so we just kind of laugh inside our heads and go, okay, I'll just do this until you're all miraculously happy and on the same page. But it's our job, and I kind of love the challenge, to be honest. But this was a little bit high pressure, but I was like, I can do this. And there was a lot of like, not quite like this. And then there's a translation and then they're saying like this, more like this. I just kept tweaking it. And there was a lot of tweaking for a good, as I recall, 30 minutes or so at least. And then throughout the entire performance, once everyone was like, yes, like this is her, this is who she is. Then there was still a lot of tweaking with the direction, a lot of particularness. And like I said, I didn't mind. Like, I love when somebody knows what they want, as long as you're articulate enough to show me. And here's the thing. We all know this, right? You've gotten this many times, I'm sure, Tara, like very conflicting direction, right?
Sounds short, but
I used to teach a class on, like a second class in voiceover on what happens when that happens. What do you do? Oh, well, when you talk to your mother, you're aggressive, but you're really shy when you talk to your dad. You got to make choices in the audition, or you can mix them together and they become very interesting traits. It's doable. Mm-hmm. So this is what I was getting. I was getting a little bit, not necessarily conflicting, but they didn't necessarily fit, And I was like, oof, how am I going to do this? Yeah. But it's an awesome challenge when you get it. And I was like, I'm going to get this. I never gave up. And eventually, everybody was very happy. And then I did it 7 more times. I did 7 games. So obviously, they liked it. I had a beautiful experience being her, but the first time was tough.
Well, it's especially challenging because I believe she was a brand new character. That's the first iteration of them.
You are correct.
With Sonic X, I think, or at least I know Mike can confirm, there was voice matching with the previous voice cast from the games. This is a brand new character, so
yes,
it doesn't surprise me at all that it was that intense. But I'm still kind of surprised. I'm like, wow, they were very particular.
Yeah, it was cool. Like I said, intimidating, but also cool.
I always look at that like a free class when I get that
right?
directed. I was like, I love it. I love direction. I love playing with voice, but I also want to feel free to screw up. And that's the weird part of it. I want to feel free to make a wrong choice and then get directed back.
Sometimes that's the only way.
Sometimes you don't feel like you're right, but sometimes you don't feel free to screw up. And that's when I'm like, you got to let me play to get there.
I only really, really put my foot in my mouth once in my entire career, and it was in such a funny way, and it was with a commercial campaign. And it was one of those situations where there was 15 people in the room, and I was terrified to do this because I had done so much animation. I was like, I'm going to be too big. They're going to be like, you're an imposter. You don't know how to be a commercial actor. Like, you're doing too much. You know, this is what I was imagining that was going to happen to me. So I was like, I'm just going to I'm going to do what the casting directors tell us to do, is like nothing, do less, right?
Right.
So I get in there and I'm like, I'm thinking I'm doing well and it's going well. And then all of a sudden the director says to me, you know, we cast you because you're so warm. Your voice is just, it's so warm. And I said, oh, that's so funny, because the casting director told me to just act like I didn't care. I've never said anything out loud and then immediately regretted it. I was like, why did I say that? Oh, foot in mouth. And there was an audible oh, from the room, because these people had spent months working on this campaign. And here they chose a voice and the casting director told me to act like I didn't care. Then I was like, backstep. And I was like, because he knew I came from the world of musical theater. And in the world of musical theater, we do a lot. And they said, you need to do less. And so I did, but I had to backtrack and backpedal like you wouldn't believe.
But it was also the truth.
It was the truth.
I mean, it wasn't as if you said something and threw someone under the bus and it wasn't true. Not that it was okay, but again, what you blurted was truth.
I was laughing in my head because I'm like, oh my God, you think I was playing warm? I was playing I don't care. Because that was the beginning of I don't care. That was...
Yes, that was a very big movement in commercial
Do you remember when that happened?
Volkswagen.
Was it Volkswagen?
Mm-hmm.
Oh
yeah, it was the Miriam Shore. This is inside baseball, but it was the Miriam Shore read in the Volkswagen campaign that was either the start of it or around the starting time of it.
Holy crap! I did not even know that.
Yeah, and also there was a big shift right after 9/11 where nothing could be too selly. Because that wasn't okay to do a hard sell after that. So all the reads were like, hey, listen, if you want to drink Gatorade, that's great. If you don't want to drink, before it was like, drink Gatorade, it's delicious. And now it was like, we're good either way, you guys. It's up to you.
We brought up 9/11 a bunch on this show. Just because of
I'm sorry about
standards
that,
and practices.
Yeah.
There was a shift.
It being in New York, this being a New York production. But this is the first time I ever heard it affecting acting and advertising and commercials.
Oh, yeah. Well, because a hard sell was not, everyone was a little sensitive. Also, and I'm messing up the timeline, but the commercial strike happened in early 2000s. And a way to combat that was to hire real people. And they were hiring real people. And that also shifted the style of commercial acting.
That makes sense. Both of those things make a lot of sense. But I do remember thinking, I grew up with those fun radio commercials where everyone's just doing crazy things, and I was like, I want to do that,
Well, then it became the Janine Garofalo read. I mean, that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
The other thing is none of that crazy stuff sound like a jaded, over it comic.
I don't care. I mean, but that's a skill in itself. If you are a person who cares, I am a person. I am a person who cares. I just do. I care about everything. And so for you to get me to not care, that's hard. And that's my hardest read. And I still struggle with it. And I can do it. But it takes me longer to get there.
Because we have to play apathy as opposed to people who just have apathy.
Correct.
And the reads that they want these days are apathetic.
God,
sorry,
that's
you guys.
good.
Again, this is really getting deep into a different
I love
thing,
actor
but
talk.
I love it.
I love
enjoy this.
actor talk. It's my favorite kind of talk.
I can ask a more on-topic question. It'll be my last question.
Yeah. No, this is great.
So, as we all know, 4Kids did have One Piece, but then eventually didn't have it anymore.
It went the way of Pokémon, basically.
Yeah. And of course, since it was redubbed by Funimation, now Crunchyroll. But then just, 2 years ago, all of a sudden, a familiar voice pops up into the current dub. And I really want to know the story about how you got to play Miss Buckin on One Piece.
Oh my gosh. Well, the story of what I thought happened, I believe, was different than what actually happened. So I'm not completely sure about the story, but this is what I think, is that I was on a short list of people recommended that do comical older women.
That's the version I heard as well, that someone recommended you. Yeah.
I got recommended, I think it was Brittany Lauda. I believe it was her. Thank you, Brittany. And she recommended me to Mike, but I had just done a convention with him, and we had, all of us had meals together, and we were directly across from each other, so I could see his banner and he could see mine. But I don't think he knew.
He told me he didn't. I vaguely remember him telling me that he had no idea. He just knew that you could play this role, and he brought you in.
I don't
and it was
think
a coincidence.
I think it was a coincidence. I don't think he knew, but I was like, in my head, I was like, oh, he knew. He saw that. You know what I mean? And so I was like, oh my God. So that happened. And then we were, I don't know if we had that discussion during the session or at the next convention where we saw each other. I don't remember. But it was awesome. Such a fun moment coming back to the show, and in such a fun character. And I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. And I'd come back again, you know.
You're one of the I won't say select few, but you're one of the few New York actors that were in the previous version that have showed up in this version too. Unfortunately, it's a very small number, but it was, I finding that out, I was like, oh, no way. But I was like, that's great.
It's funny. Yeah, fans were like telling me for years I needed to do that. And I was thinking to myself, well, I don't think they'll want me. I don't think they'd want that. I don't know. For some reason, I was thinking, well, they want to keep it separate. You know what I mean? And so I never tried. I never put myself up for anything. But I'm also very different. Tara, you'll have to tell me the difference of like being a New York actor as opposed to being an LA actor. Like in New York, believe it or not, like it's not like the mafia, do me a favor. We don't ask for favors here. We just do what we love, and we do it well, and we get recommended by people who love us and who know us. We never ask. It's just not something in the culture here in voiceover. We would never think to know someone for 5 minutes or even 5 days.
Oh, I see what you mean.
And ask them for something. We just don't. It's just not in our DNA. I've recommended Mark Thompson probably more times than I've recommended any other actor in the history of my life. And I don't do it because Mark is like, Erica, you got any work for me? Erica, he's never asked me for anything. He recommends me,
Yeah. I think it's a voiceover world thing. I think it's not an LA, New York. I think maybe this is a lesson I learned pretty early, because one of my best friends was one of the biggest commercial actors in New York, voiceover commercial. She booked everything. We'd go to and I finally had to say, no, my friend Ashley. And I remember one day I was like, you know what? Lunch is, like, if she books it, lunch is on Ashley. Like, I have to reframe the negativity I had feeling that, because she was such a good friend, and I didn't want it to affect the friendship. And I think part of it was that, and especially back then, as opposed to now, there was an abundance of work.
Yeah.
And it didn't feel as competitive as a theater audition, where there was one job, or there was...
That's true.
There was an abundance of commercial work. I spent my days going from commercial audition to commercial audition, and I was working, and if I didn't get it, it was okay. And at 4Kids, if I didn't get this show, this is going to be another show. Yeah. Like, they have 80,000 shows, and they're going to pull me into a different room.
But you were a favorite too. That's the one thing that we forget to remember, is that you're a favorite for a reason. You know what I mean? You were a favorite, and it wasn't just because you were like, hey, I'm available, or hey, I'm here, or hey, I'm versatile.
But we worked quickly, we worked efficiently, and that, I think that made us favorites.
Yeah, and there were other people that were one and done, that worked on one show.
Yes.
So we have to remember that. It wasn't a given. It was purely from the experience that we gave the directors and how we served the piece before we served ourselves. And that's how I think of it.
That is a nice note to end on. I'm going to let you out of here. I like the way you said that. Erica, we're going to make you come back because there's like stuff we did not get to. And I don't want to make this a 17-hour interview, but I could.
This was so much fun. I knew I was going to have fun, but yeah.
But we're making you come back. Like, it's not a question.
Twist
it's like a mafia thing.
Yeah.
Are you asking me for a favor?
It is a mafia thing here.
All right, I'll take it.
Like, that voice is amazing, and I want to... Your range is ridiculous. We'll have another conversation about this. Thank you. Go to bed.
Kisses.
Wake up.
I had an awesome time.
Erica has to wake up early. We're letting her out of here.
You guys are awesome. Thank you.
That was an awesome and very long episode, especially for someone who has to wake up early tomorrow. I appreciate her time so much. That was really fun.
A lot of fun, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Where to begin?
So did you get some of your questions answered?
Yeah. I mean, the questions I asked is like very like I'm just curious. Like I'm always curious about the process of just working on One Piece in any form.
Yeah.
Especially adapting it, especially from actors in the 4Kids version who I don't think their stories have really been shared as much.
Right.
So and just getting to hear about the intensive process that went into finding that Luffy voice.
Yeah.
Really just,
how interesting that it was a male first. I understand why a male voice wouldn't work. I get that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But that's a bummer for that person. Yeah.
It's been tried before, because I think even like in other companies have did test dubs of One Piece around that time to kind of to audition, and they went with male voices too, and it's just
it's not the same.
Nah, not the same.
Yeah, I mean her energy was awesome. That it's so crazy because she and I had just completely different experiences there, and I'm very envious of her experience. I would have loved I love being directed and having like a laugh session just to work on the laugh and the extensive she got to work with the Japanese team. I mean, that's a very unique situation for the actors at 4Kids. So so cool. Although her experience with the Winx Club, being unceremoniously fired and not even being told she was not going to do the role was I guess was very 4Kids, but not okay. I mean, you know what it is? It's like, I get it. They had to get the job done. They had to replace her. I don't mind that they did that. It's the way it was handled, and that's, I think, the theme in a lot of this. It's the way things are handled with lack of communication.
For sure.
Yeah, and it's not like it all happened on one show. So it happened with numerous producers, directors, so I don't think there was like an edict, like, don't tell the actors when they're fired. I don't think anyone actually said that. I think people just didn't know what to do. And like, it's almost like they just ghosted the actors or something when it happened.
Well, it's better just to like, hey, we're like the cliche phrase, we're going in a different direction.
Yeah, that's so simple. Yeah. And actors appreciate that. Like, it would have been a really easy fix, or get a studio in Chicago. She probably would have gotten a studio in Chicago and done it if they had explained to her how. Like, it's interesting how fast they were to replace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially because, we're talking like hindsight now, where the industry has changed so much. And it's so easy to like get someone who's not like in town, like near, like in the close vicinity.
Yes, technology has changed so much. Yeah, technology has changed the industry completely, for good and for bad.
Yeah,
So, wow, yeah, that was awesome. We need a part 2 because again, I want to get into some of the other stuff. Like, I mean, her range is insanity. Like, there's a reason why she does so many on the current Pokemon, why she does the voices of so many of the Pokemon themselves. because she is incredibly versatile. She takes it very seriously. She's good at her job, and she can read a room, which again was another good topic I'm glad we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she's awesome. On that note, now what do you want to talk about? We've kept you long enough.
Yeah.
So we've kept you for like this has been I think maybe our longest interview or one of. So we'll let you guys go. Again, all of this stuff, subscribe, rate, review, follow us on the socials, on YouTube's, on the blah blah blahs, and we will
catch you next time.
4Kids Flashback is a production of Maji Media, hosted by Tara Sands and Steve Yurko.
Producers are Zach Logan, Tara Sands, and Steve Yurko.
For more information, go to 4kidsflashback.com. That is the number 4. And if you worked at 4Kids and have a story you want to share, please email us at 4kidsflashback@gmail.com.
You can find us on social media at 4Kids Flashback, and to listen early and ad-free, head to patreon.com/4kidsflashback. For podcast merchandise, find links on our website and Linktree.
As they say on every podcast, if you liked this show, please subscribe, rate, and review, and tell your friends, or 4. If you want to check out other Maji Media podcasts, go to maji.media. Thanks for listening.